Hey, what's up guys, Mark here, and today I am going to make a little bit more progress on my ArtWar 4 entry, going from the design stage that I worked on in the previous video all the way to a finished sketch, something that I'm ready to color. Alright, so I am back with the second update video on my entry here for ArtWar 4. So if you're not sure what ArtWar 4 is all about, make sure that you check out the link down in the description below. It is basically the biggest character art competition online, and it's currently ongoing. There's about 12 or 11 days left, and I'm starting to feel the pressure a little bit here, so let's go right into it. So last time, this is what I ended up with. So those were the designs that I came up with for the characters in my illustrations. Now, the reason why I start with the design itself is just so that I don't have to worry about it while working on a full illustration. So the very first step is always to start with a rough sketch. And by rough, I mean rough, really rough. We don't want to spend too much time on any detail here. It's really all about composition. Now, what is composition? Well, it's just a way to arrange the different elements of art in your painting or in your drawing to make it more readable for whoever looks at this. You can think of it kind of as the paragraphs or the chapters in a big book. The same goes here with art. I have a story that I'm trying to tell, right? So I want you guys to understand this illustration and to understand the narrative that's in it. And so I am going to use different techniques, different methods, different tricks to hopefully try to convey my story in the best possible way. So the story in itself, really, all it is, kind of simple, but I want these three characters here to be the heroes. I want this one to be the main character, so this is going to be my focal point, the first thing that you look at when you look at this image. So it might not be the case just yet, but that's kind of where I'm going with this. And the story is that these three here got surrounded by these little creatures here. So I'm going to need to have a couple more of these characters in the background there to show that they are actually surrounded. But as they were surrounding those three sorcerers, they quickly found out that they underestimated them, and now they're getting their ass whooped. And so they are running away. Of course, I wanted these guys to look badass. A quick way to do that is to lower the vantage point of the camera. And so right now, as you can see here, we're looking at them from a lower point of view, making them a lot more imposing than they would be if we were looking at them from a higher point of view. And at the same time, since these guys are dominating, they are looking down at those goblins, right? I think it's pretty clear who's winning in here. And since this is kind of a one team versus another team theme that I had going on for this painting, I wanted to do something that's similar to like a fighting game, right? Where we have team 1 versus team 2. So kind of this diagonal, but also symmetrical composition. And since I wanted this to be dynamic, something that conveys a lot of motion, a lot of movement, I tilted the floor a little bit and made sure to fit most of my elements in this big diamond shape here. As I teach in my art program, having a lot of diagonal lines like this introduce a lot of motion in a painting versus having completely horizontal and vertical lines. So when it comes to composition, so far so good. But as you can see here, when I said at the beginning that this stage is meant to be very sketchy, it's for a reason, right? So all of these elements here I've moved around a number of times, and they're all in their separate layers so that I can easily make tweaks if needed. Once I had this and I was happy with it, I started to detail my characters a little bit more. So I wanted to work on my main protagonist first so that I can use it as a reference for the other characters in a painting in terms of the level of detail, the kind of style, and overall just the shape language that I'm using here. So once I kind of figured this out, I ended up adding a little bit more polish and using the same process on the other parts of the painting here, or the drawing at this stage, not a painting quite yet. And you can see it's really starting to come together a little bit more. And I kind of like how dynamic it is. So this is something that I've been working on in the past few years. Static pose is very easy for me at this point, and so always try to grow as an artist, to challenge myself, and these were definitely challenging. So characters that are in difficult poses with a lot of foreshortening in somewhat intense perspectives. So at least I'm happy with the result, but all in all, this was a good challenge. And now let's move on to the final current state of this painting or this drawing, and this is it. So I have all my characters done. All the polish is, well, obviously not 100% there. A lot of it is going to come in the painting stages a little bit later, but I have at least most of my details in here. I have the designs of my characters that I made some adjustments on. You know, there were a couple things that worked and a couple things that didn't work when I post the characters. So you can see most notably on the character in the front here in the center, we have like the leg pads that I just completely removed because I don't know, like I couldn't get them to work properly in this angle. It was hiding too much of the character. So even though it would have probably worked, it didn't make the character look as good. It made the legs or the leg area here a little bit too busy. And so I just decided to remove them completely. But I think that still they all feel like they belong in the same team. They each have a similar aesthetic, I think. So looking quickly here at my setup, well, I have all of these things on their own layers. And so they're the full characters. I didn't just paint what we see. I actually painted the whole thing. Now the main reason I did this because technically I didn't really need to paint any or to draw anything that's behind the characters because we won't see it on the final illustration. Right? So this guy, for example, like all his leg and the arms really didn't need to do that. But since this is also made in the context of Chroma Island for a book project, I want these guys to be on their own layer so that I can kind of show them off individually in the book. So that's the only reason why I did a little bit of extra work there. But in any case, this is something that I recommend that you do as well. Maybe not the whole character or maybe not detail the whole character. Yeah, I recommend to have them all on separate layers. Each character that you have in your scene on a different layer so that you can move them around if needed. Because once I add all the special effects that are clearly missing in here, so this one here is going to be casting like a fireball or something like that. This guy will be shooting probably some sort of ice onto this guy here. And then our main protagonist is going to be melting the ground, turning this whole thing into lava that these poor goblins in the foreground are slowly sinking into. And so all of these added effects and of course the background that I haven't even tackled yet because I'm just going to go ahead and paint it directly. All of these things are going to impact my composition, right? So whatever I decided to go with at the very beginning, for sure, just from experience, I know that I will have to change a few things around here as this gets more and more finalized. Having all these characters on their own layers, I'll be able to rebalance everything once those effects are in. But yeah guys, so this is what I have so far. So I had a lot of fun working on the details of these characters, working on their faces more specifically because that's always where their character starts to show more. And as you can see here, they're a little bit crazy, so they seem to be enjoying this probably a little bit too much. But once again, this ties in with who they are as a group. The purple people of Chroma Island, and these guys are super overly competitive, and basically their entire life is just a game trying to level up, and their entire social structure is all around military kind of hierarchy, and that is 100% influenced with how they do in battle, how much damage they can make, how much damage they can cause, and really just how effective they are as killing machines, because that's really all they are. So yes, probably not the typical hero or the typical protagonist for an image here. Yeah, anyways, so this is pretty much what I have so far. So I'm ready to move on to colors now. I have my line art with my flat colors already done. So next I'm going to go in and color the crap out of this, which is also going to be the subject of the next video, which should be coming out fairly soon since I don't have that much time left to wrap this up before the end of the competition. So there you go. If you have any questions, about the process, or if you spot any mistakes, or if you have any feedback at all, please let me know down in the comments below. I still have a lot of freedom to change things around at this stage. All feedback is always good feedback, so let me know down below, and I will see you guys in a couple of days for the next update video. See you later.